It was supposed to be a routine evening for Sarah. She'd been working overtime at the hospital for days, nursing her way through shifts that blurred one into the next. Her life was a cycle of exhaustion, barely leaving time for her family or herself. But tonight, as she was finally heading home, a single message on her phone shattered her calm. "Come home! There's someone in the house!" The text came from her teenage daughter, Mia. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She texted back quickly, but no reply came. Panic washed over her as she sped through the dark, rain-soaked streets toward home. When she finally arrived, the house was eerily quiet, drenched in darkness. She quickly made her way inside, calling Mia's name, her voice trembling as it echoed through empty rooms. The familiar warmth of her home now felt cold and foreign. As she moved through the dim hallway, she noticed muddy footprints leading from the back door toward Mia's room. Sarah's hands shook as she reached for the doorknob, calling Mia's name once more. The silence that followed felt like it stretched for an eternity. Slowly, she opened the door. In the corner of the room, Mia sat with her back to the door, her hair hanging down, shrouding her face. Relief mixed with dread as Sarah whispered, "Mia," but there was no response, just the sound of steady breathing that didn't quite match Mia's. Cautiously, Sarah stepped closer, reaching out to touch her daughter's shoulder. But as her hand made contact, Mia's body jerked unnaturally, her head twisting to the side in a way that no human body could manage. Sarah stumbled backward, horrified as Mia's face lifted to meet her gaze, her eyes vacant, her expression completely void of life. "I tried to tell you," a hollow voice whispered, barely recognizable as her daughter's, "but you never listen. You're always at work." A chilling realization crept over Sarah. This wasn't her daughter, or rather, it wasn't her daughter anymore. She stared in horror as Mia began to rise, her movements stiff and unnatural, her head tilted at an impossible angle. The voice continued, a dreadful, mocking tone that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You left us. You left me to this." Sarah stumbled out of the room, her mind racing. Was this her fault? Had her constant absence allowed something terrible to seep into her home, to consume her daughter? She ran, but the shadows seemed to stretch and bend, trapping her inside the house. Every room she entered closed around her, suffocating her with memories of her absence, of moments she'd missed. Finally, as Sarah reached the front door, she heard her daughter's voice, softer now, pleading, "Mom, don't leave me again." She froze, torn, wanting to believe her daughter was still there, somewhere. But a gnawing dread held her in place, a primal instinct screaming at her to run, to escape whatever had taken her daughter. With tears streaming down her face, Sarah closed her eyes, whispered a final, broken apology, and stepped out into the rain, leaving behind the only home and the only daughter she'd ever known.